space. We have in the center of our screen the canvas. This is the printable area with all of our image on it. In this case, I have a collage. We have our tools over on the left-hand side. Today we'll be going over the Move tool and several of the selection tools in order to put this car back together. On the right-hand side, we have our various panels, the most important of which being the Layers panel, which should always be open, and if it ever gets closed, you can come up to the top of the screen, which is not featured here. You can't see it in this screen recording. But the menu that says Window will allow you to open up your Layers panel if it ever gets closed. And then along the top here, I have various different images open here in my different tabs, so I can switch between them and have various projects going at once. Up here we have the options bar. This changes depending on which tool you select, so you can see you have a wide variety of options available with each tool. As we go through, we'll explore some of those as well. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I always like to start by making a copy of the background layer. To do so, you drag it down to the plus sign at the bottom of the Layers panel right next to the trash, and then that will make a duplicate. So now it's safe. I like to even hide the background so that I can see what I'm doing on this layer. If I mess it up beyond repair, like with the liquify tool or something, I can always delete that and start again with another copy of the background layer. So that's why I'll always have that as a backup. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to explore is the Move tool. You can see that I can move my entire layer here to be able to select like individual pieces, like individual tires here. I'm going to have to actually use selection tools to tell Photoshop which pixels I want selected, because it doesn't know right now all of these are equal. They're all pixels on one layer. So in order to differentiate the different parts of the car, I have a variety of selection tools available. So I'm going to look at the first. These are the marquee tools. So you can click and hold them down, see which we have options to use. So we have the rectangular marquee. I can use this to make, rectangular selections. Obviously that would not be the right one for the case. But if I switched back over, so like right now on the rectangular marquee with just a regular selection made, I can kind of move it around. So it makes like a basic selection there. Now if I use the Move tool with this selection made, it would cut that area out. And then if I deselected, Photoshop makes it difficult to deselect on purpose because sometimes it takes a long time to make a selection and they don't want you to accidentally lose it. So if I hit Command D, or if I went up to the select menu and selected deselect, Command D would get rid of that selection. And now this again is all on one layer and it has just eaten the pixels below that layer. So if I were to go and like say make that selection again, as you can see, and then I go to cut it with this Move tool, it has just eaten that tire right below it. So that's become a problem. So now I've messed up this layer beyond repair, so it's time for me to delete it by dragging it down to the trash can and then make another copy of my background layer, hide the background, and now I'm set to go. Okay, so another marquee tool that you might need is the elliptical marquee. This would probably be the right one for the tire. So up here on the options bar, we have the choices of making a new selection, adding to an existing selection, or subtracting from a selection. Those are the common ones that I use. So we're just going to make a new selection here, and here's some different options. So I just zoomed in by zooming in on my touchpad down by the keyboard, so you can zoom in or out that way. So I am going to see what happens when I just click and drag. I'm trying to make a circle fit around this tire. I did a pretty good job, but as you can see, it's not perfect. Now, if I want to start again, I just hit Command D. I'm going to try that again. And I'm going to, this time, drag from the center. Now, if I hold Shift, you can see what happens. It makes a perfect circle, but it's obviously not lining up with my tire. So what I would have to do is hit Shift and Option. And now when I drag from the center, the Option key makes it come from the center instead of from the side like that. So that's a little bit better. Oops, I let go of my keys before I was finished with my selection. So now my marching ants is what we call that in the business. That's how you know where your active selection is in Photoshop. So you're telling Photoshop only affect these pixels within these marching ants. If I were to do anything like add an adjustment layer or use a paintbrush and try and paint over it, it would only affect the pixels within those marching ants. So now I've gotten close. What I can do from here is I can go up to the select menu, which is just off screen, but it's up here at the top. And then I can go down to transform selection. Now this is a really helpful feature that Photoshop allows you to modify your selections here and line it up perfectly. So I'm just gonna kind of drag it this way, make it a little taller, a little skinnier. And if you hold shift, it will maintain the proportions. Okay, so that's close enough here for my purposes in this tutorial. So you hit enter, or you can check this little check mark up at the top to tell Photoshop I'm done with my transformation. And now this is the selection that I want. If I use my move tool, I can cut that tire out from the background copy. I can zoom out and I can place it. Now before I place it, I might even copy this and paste it on a new layer. So everything, this background copy could be where I get my source material from, and then maybe on a new layer I construct my car. So I'm going to hit Command C, Command V, or go up to Edit Copy, and then go down to Edit Paste. That's a safe way to have a non-destructive change to a layer, is just move something to a different layer. So this layers panel over here allows you to stay very organized in your workflow. So I'm just going to double click and rename this tire, and maybe we'll call it back tire. As organized as you can is a good way to be. Okay, so now I can move this tire separate from the background. Notice I have a second tire here. It kind of lines up. If I wanted to resize this tire itself, notice I don't have an active selection right now because it's the only thing on this layer. So you can really easily see what's on each layer by clicking this eyeball on and off to see what you have there. And if I need it to be just a little bit bigger, I can hit Command T, or I can go up to the Edit menu and go down to Transform or Free Transform, and that would be how you get that bounding box that helps you resize things. And then again, when it's the right size, you hit the check mark or you hit Enter, and then you're ready to go. So I might take some time to continue putting together this car in another video. So that so far is the Marquee tools and the Move tool.